And how about it for the media, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I have to tell you, before we get started with the humor, I just want to say, I watched Jimmy Kimmel last night. How many of you watched this? I've never been prouder of a fellow comic in my life. What he said in that opening monologue was moving, it was funny, it was on point, and it reminded me what a great privilege it is and what a great gift it is to be able to use humor and commentary to elevate spirits and to carry a message. So in that spirit, with the Trump administration's attacks on people and organizations deemed political enemies, I am reminded of the poem written by a German priest who was jailed in Hitler's Germany. Pastor Martin Niemöller wrote, "First they came for the communists, but I was not a communist, so I didn't speak out. Then they came for the socialists, but I was not a socialist, so I didn't speak out. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me." In 2025, the current administration has come, as you know, for the undocumented, the universities, the professors, the federal workers, the IRS, the EPA, PBS, NPR, the news media, nonprofits, and late-night comedians. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do not speak up for the First Amendment, the Constitution, the rule of law, and due process now, who will speak for us? And who will speak for them? And I just want to say again, on behalf of the comedians who have influenced me, a big shout out and a big thank you to Jimmy Kimmel, to Stephen Colbert, to Jimmy Fallon, to Conan O'Brien, to Lily Tomlin, to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, to Paula Poundstone, to my friend Barry Crimmins, to my friend Colin Quinn, to Dave Chappelle, to Chris Rock, to George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Lenny Bruce, Will Rogers, Mark Twain, and the spirit of these wonderful individuals, ladies and gentlemen, we need to laugh. So let's get on with it, brothers and sisters. Obviously, we are a nation of immigrants. Your parents, my parents, their parents, their parents, every single generation, unless you are African American and unless you are Native American, came from someplace else, going back, all the way back to the Pilgrims, ladies and gentlemen, the first immigrants, the first refugees, persecuted in England for their Puritan beliefs, went to Holland, persecuted in Holland for their Puritan beliefs. One night, feeling ostracized, rejected by the entire world, the Pilgrims had a meeting. We're persecuted in England, we're persecuted in Holland. Where in this world can we go to practice our religion freely? And one of them said, "How about the Cape?" The Cape? Could we get a place? It's the off season, and it's 1620. So 100 pilgrims got into a boat, a tiny little boat, the Mayflower, and they set sail for the New World, and they were aiming for Virginia, and they got blown off course, ladies and gentlemen, and then ended up in Provincetown Bay in the winter of 1620. And even in 1620, you could not get a place for 100 people in Provincetown. Now, they were offered a place on Route 6. They said no. We are the Pilgrims. We just came from Europe. We're not staying on Route 6. We'll spend the entire winter on the boat in in Provincetown Bay in the winter of 1620. And I think we all underestimate the hardships that these poor people endured. Obviously, they didn't have heat, electricity, toiletries, medicine, electricity. It was about day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute stress, incredible fear, incredible stress, just to survive. Many of the pilgrims had wooden shoes. Wooden shoes. It's bad enough you're lost. Your shoes are made of wood. Many of the pilgrims had wooden teeth. Wooden teeth. They had big buckles on their shoes, big buckles on their belts, big buckles on their hats. Let's face it, my friends, the Pilgrims were a buckled up people. As a matter of fact, I believe they were the originators of the seatbelt law. Where art thee going? I'm going to Salem to burn a witch. Buckle up. I mean, you know you are stressed out, my friends, when you need a buckle on your hat to keep your head together. And initially they got along very, very well with the Native Americans. Squanto and Massasoit said to the other Native Americans, come here to me, come here to me. We have to help these poor people. They're all buckled up. How are they going to catch a deer? You can hear them coming through the woods for miles. And Squanto and Miles Standish said to one of the Squanto said to one of the leaders of the Pilgrims, Miles Standish, lighten up, bro. You're in Provincetown. For the love of God, put on some sandals and unbuckle the hat. And here we are, my friends, almost 400 years later, and there are still people coming to this country for freedom, religious freedom, economic freedom, political freedom. And obviously it's a very, very controversial issue, ladies and gentlemen. But when you look at the hardships that many of these people endured, some of which are in that building right there behind us. When you look at the hardships, walking here, through the desert, through the Darien Gap, having to deal with drug traders and human smugglers, and coming not on trains, on the tops of trains, across the desert, ladies and gentlemen. On a certain level, when you look at the ambition and the courage that it takes to come to another place, are they not, on a certain level, modern day pilgrims? Yes. Are they not, on a certain level, modern day pilgrims? Think about this. Sneaking, and I'm not advocating for illegal immigration. All I'm saying is that the people in that building and the people that they're going after right now in this country would probably make pretty good citizens based on the risk they take to sneak into this country. Think about this. Think about this. Sneaking into a country to work. That's incredible. That's like somebody breaking into your house to clean it. And people say they're taking our jobs. Are they taking our jobs, ladies and gentlemen? Or are they doing our jobs? 40% of the farm workers and the agricultural workers in this country are undocumented workers. 40% of the people who grow the food, pick the food, process the food are undocumented. When is the last time an American citizen went for a job picking lettuce? Think about that. Oh, I've never really been happy here at the bank. All these years cooped up in this air-conditioned office. How I've longed for migrant work. What I would give to be out in the fields of Arizona when it's 119 degrees. Rip off my shirt, down on my hands and my knees, picking a little lettuce. But can I? No. The undocumented get all the good jobs. I mean, you know as well as I do, if it were not for undocumented workers and immigrants in general, and the restaurant business, the agricultural industries, white-collar industries, blue-collar industries, this country would starve. Who are they going to get to pick? Who are they going to get to pick the lettuce? Who are they going to get to pick the lettuce? The Teamsters? I pick 3 heads in the morning, I'm done. Salads would be like $90 a piece. And sometimes, my friends, I wonder how this country would react if it were different types of immigrants trying to get into America. How would the country react if suddenly thousands of Irish Catholics were on the other side of the Rio Grande? Help! Help! We know the Kennedys. Help! How would this country react if suddenly 10,000 Scandinavian women with their tubes tied pulled up to New York Harbor on a big barge? Help! We're looking for a place to stay. What, are you kidding me? The Senate, the Congress, every bar room in America, let freedom ring. Tuesday, illegal alien night, come on down. Swedish women drink for nothing, come on in. Even Trump himself. You can stay in my place. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason we even have an official asylum system in this country is because in 1939, at the rise of Hitler, a huge boat, the the St. Louis, pulled up to the shores of Cuba and the shores of Florida. And there was 1,000 Jewish refugees trying to get out of Nazi Germany. And the United States would not let them in, and the Cuban government would not let them in. And they were returned to Europe. And many of those people passed. Many of those people died in the concentration camps of Europe. And after the war, people were so horrified, they said, we have to change this. And they came up with the International Declaration of Human Rights for Refugees. And we got to get to the point in our country right now, folks, we can have immigration reform. That is the goal, in my opinion. We need comprehensive immigration reform to help refugees and immigrants from all over the world, just like was done, ladies and gentlemen, for many, many years before the current administration. We were taking 1 million immigrants a year in the United States, and we led the world in accepting immigrants and refugees, ladies and gentlemen. And we got to get back to that, and we have the possibility, and we have the ability to do that, my friends. And it was done under Reagan, and the reason, as many people know, and this is something that's not being discussed right now, one of the biggest drivers of undocumented workers and illegal immigration in this country are employers who hire them because they know they're really great workers, for the most part. For the most part. Right. How many employers are in that building? How many employers are being rounded up on a daily basis? I'm not advocating that they should be. I'm just advocating we have employers who hire people who are being arrested. We have people who are being arrested who are working, and we can accomplish immigration reform in this country. We have the documentation. We have the IRS. We have people paying taxes. They have social security numbers. We can use the data to find out who's in the country, what they're doing here, how long they've been here, paying taxes, and we can have immigration reform, comprehensive immigration reform. So it's not only what we're against, but is what we are for, ladies and gentlemen. It is what we are for as Americans. And we got to deal with refugees. There's 100 million refugees in the world right now, okay? And we have to come up with something more sophisticated and modern than a wall. Excuse me, now it's not even going to be a wall. Now it's going to be a fence. It's going to be a great fence, like other great fences throughout history. The Great Fence of China. The Berlin Fence, the fence between church and state, the left field fence at Fenway. So we can do these things, ladies and gentlemen, and I just want to say I'm extremely honored to be here today. I want to thank you for your work, and I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Number one, Margaret Mead, the great anthropologist, because sometimes it gets overwhelmed. Well, how are we going to change things? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Margaret Mead, the great anthropologist, said, never underestimate what a small group of dedicated people can do to change the world. It's the only thing that ever has. And that's what we have here today, ladies and gentlemen. A small group, a large group of dedicated people working to change the world. And I just want to leave you on a positive note, ladies and gentlemen, that there have been challenges before and there will be challenges ahead. But this country and this world have overcome enormous challenges. If you just look at the situation that you just look at the collapse of the Soviet Union. Nobody predicted the collapse of the Soviet Union, ladies and gentlemen. The civil rights movement, the poorest people in this country changed the course of this country. For every one Martin Luther King, there's a million people, millions of people behind them like yourselves. Nobody thought anything would change in Northern Ireland. Enlightened leadership, dedicated grassroots changed the situation in Northern Ireland, and the Good Friday Agreement has held for 27 years. Or South Africa, Nobody ever thought the situation in South Africa would ever end. No one thought Mandela would ever even get out of jail, never mind be the president of that country. Enlightened leadership, dedicated grassroots, international pressure changed the situation in South Africa. And I just want to leave you with a little bit of a story. "1747, slave ship off the coast of Donegal Island. Captain John Newton, 26 years old, at the helm. Storm at sea, huge waves crashing over the bow of the ship. Captain John Newton, 26 years old, fears for his life. And he prays like he never prayed before, and he makes a deal with God. He says, God, if you save us, if you spare us, I'll change my ways. As legend has it, the storm subsides, the ship gets to shore. Captain John Newton eventually leaves the slave trade, becomes an Anglican preacher, becomes a leading abolitionist in the anti-slavery movement in England in the 18th century, and this former slave ship captain owner ultimately pens the words to the song, Amazing Grace. People change, governments change, policies change. We're going to be okay, my friends. That is my message to you today. We're going to be okay. But we're going to need help. We're going to need help. So God, help us. Help us to do what we can, where we can, how we can, when we can, because faith without works is dead. So we can build, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, that more perfect union. And the government of the people, and by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from this earth. And when future generations pick up a phone and reach out for help, whether it's healthcare, housing, immigration, transportation, education, human rights, civil rights, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, small business issues, veterans issues, or substance abuse disorder, the answer on the other end of that phone always will be, this is America. You called the right place. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thank you, and thank you.